The Philly win made the Cowboys' 47-16 blowout victory over the Redskins mean nothing, as Dallas will be watching the playoffs from home after a hot start to the season that ended with them dropping 4 of their last 6 games. We're now joined by Fox NFL analyst Michael Vick. Good to have you. Mike, your biggest takeaway from how the NFC East played out?
My biggest takeaway is probably the coaching, because there was more coverage and eyes on the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles than probably every team in all of football. And when you look at what the Philadelphia Eagles was able to do to go out and win games with pretty much the scout team, being C-class players, it's a testament to the coaching.
I know what you're talking about.
A testament to the coaching and the entire coaching staff. You know, they pretty much had a star quarterback and guys like Boston Scott, you know, pretty much willed that team to win. And you know, down the stretch, it was all decided by, you know, the Cowboys versus the Eagles. And, you know, the Eagles beating the Giants 2 times. And, you know, so, you know, I don't want to state the obvious and continue to do that as far as the players that was hurting wasn't on the field. But, you know, when you look at this Philadelphia Eagles coaching staff, you know, some of these coaches need to be taken into consideration for head coaching jobs around the league, because if they can do that good of a job, that means there's somebody other than Doug Peterson putting in input like Frank Wright did, you know, during the Super Bowl run, and help this team put themselves in a position. Every other team, but I can't say every other team
has been a head coach. And he did a good job down the stretch.
And the Dallas Cowboys, they had their opportunities, they didn't make it happen, and that's the way the chips fell. But you know, when I look at the coaching and how precise the Philadelphia Eagles was down the stretch, it was really the main reason why this team got into the playoffs, and rightfully so. So I think the rest of the NFC East, you know, can get stronger as the years go on, but as of right now, Philadelphia deserves all the credit.
Best quarterback in the NFC East, you walk into him.
I think we just discussed the best quarterback.
No, first of all, we did not.
Right.
No, he's not. Stop
Right.
it. Stop it. Vic, who the better quarterback?
Between
Walk into him in the Dak.
Don't put him on the spot like that.
I mean,
He's an
right-
ex-Eagle.
All I know, think about this here. You just said that man won the
walking to
division.
him was the man right now.
You just said that man won the division with scout team guy.
He's the man right now.
That's all we talk about.
Words.
That's what we talk about right now and the foreseeable future. But it was Skip. Look, if you can go out there, Robert Davis, 6th-round draft pick in 2017, Deontay Burnett, Greg Ward, Boston Scott. I said Boston Scott was an undrafted free agent. He was a 6th-round draft pick of the Saints a couple years back, Skip. No wide receiver on that roster had 500 yards, and you got a 4,000-yard passing quarterback. That's unheard of. Only 3 starters that started yesterday started this season with this man. The center, left guard, left tackle. Let that sink in for a second, Skip. They got guys that's making plays, and I told you from top to bottom, structurally. Mr. Lurie, how he handles things, Howie Roseman. Skip, there's a chain of command. Skip,
I'll give you that.
They understand talent.
I mean, Skip, you got to have a chain. Okay, you got layers. You can't have, one guy controls all this, and then you get to the coach. Well, and plus, every time you talk, you strip power away from the coach because they hear what you say.
I agree. All that's true. You got me.
But Skip, when the rubber needed to meet the road, you talked about, and you laughed at me. You laughed at me when they lost to Fitzmagic. Fitzmagic? How'd you lose? You got little to no respect for Ryan Fitzpatrick. I said, you're right, Skip. I said, but you know what? And Michael Vick, you came out here that day. I said, guess what? My guy, Cowboys will do Cowboys things, and they're not going to win the division. My guy walk into him, I believed in it. Last 4 games, no interceptions. That's how you win games. You beat teams. Now, when you guys had them early in the year, I didn't hear Skip say anything about the Giants are terrible, Washington's terrible. But guess what? My team had to do that your team couldn't do. Beat Buffalo, beat Chicago, beat the Jets. All you win one of those games, and you're the division champs. My guy did it, your guy didn't, so I'm the champ. I got a T-shirt coming, but the East is not enough. That's what my T-shirt gonna say.
Every team has something that says the division Everybody does.
I tell you who don't have that. They ain't got none with the Cowboys.
No.
The Cowboys,
Not today.
The Cowboys are going to some third world country right now. They're gonna be some kid right now with some tennis shoes and a Cowboy shirt saying the East is not enough.
That's not good.
I told you they just accepted an invitation to the Alamo Bowl. They're going to play in the Alamo Bowl tomorrow night.
But Skip, at some point in time, you have to give Walker to him some credit now. Give him some credit for what he's done over the last month.
For what? No, seriously, for what?
Winning with being C-class players.
He beat the 4-12 Giants twice, and the first time he barely pulled it out in overtime after stinking it up for 3.5 quarters at home. It was some of the most pathetic throwing I've seen any quarterback do all year, and it was at home. And suddenly they caught fire. If you can catch fire in the NFC least, I don't know how you do.
It's the least now. It's the least now.
It's the least.
Well, you caught fire last year.
They beat the Giants in overtime. The Cowboys just wiped out the Giants twice. It was 35-17 and 37-18, and it took overtime at home to beat the Giants.
But look what he's
Your
doing with the
QBR was
players.
53 in that game.
Look at the players.
Well, he had Zach Ertz. He had him, and he had Dallas Goedert. And he had
Greg Ward Jr.
Greg Ward Jr. is pretty good. Even Michael Vick said last week he's pretty good.
So Skip told me earlier, not to cut you off, Skip told me earlier that the Eagles receivers that they went out there with yesterday is better than the Cowboys receivers.
Not yesterday. I said for the whole year.
For the whole year.
whole group.
He said the whole group. He said
I
that.
agree with that.
I'm talking about Alshon and Ertz and Dallas Goedert. We don't have a tight end. We got Jason Witten. We didn't have. Come on, we had no threat at tight end because Blake Jarwin didn't get to play all year.
That's
Okay? Well, I can't help it. I can't. That's what they chose to do.
And then did you hear what Jason Witten said yesterday? It wasn't in our hands.
What wasn't in your hand?
Yeah, he talking about them not making the playoff. Wasn't in their hands. Yes, it was, Skip. You had it in your hand.
Both of those teams control their own destiny.
Okay.
Yes.
So then
They both control their own
Carson Wentz goes to Washington. The Redskins are pathetic. They're 3-13, and today they have a new football coach. And it took Carson Wentz going to the fourth quarter of that game, losing a fumble, so the Redskins immediately cashed a field goal and went ahead 27-24. And with 3 minutes left, he starts a drive, and with 26 seconds left, he throws a touchdown pass to Greg Ward Jr. against a secondary that had 8 cornerbacks this year on injured reserve and 1 suspended. And that was who the Cowboys tore apart yesterday.
Exactly.
And I'm not impressed.
But you did that with all your starters. We did that with backup. That was our third running back. Boston Scott is the third running back.
You know what? He looks like Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He looks like that kind of guy. He looks talented to me. He was really good for them.
He got some quickness.
He's got some spark to him.
Remember, Skip, Saints had Darren Sproles.
I got it.
And I believe that's why they drafted him, because he reminds them of Darren Sproles.
Okay.
The reason I talked about coaching staffs and being able to scout talent and knowing what you have behind your backups and how to make sure that these guys who sit behind these starting players can be the best they can be when they step out on the field is because you never know when you're going to need them.
Mm-hmm.
And when guys got to fill in and they filled in the way that they filled in for the Philadelphia Eagles, it's a credit not just to the coaching staff.
Howie Roseman, I agree.
Oh, so you hear that, Tony Pollard?
Yep.
So normally when you're a backup, Mike, you prepare yourself because if something happens, you're going to go in. Now, Tony Pollard got an opportunity. He got called against the Eagles. Last week. Yeah. And what happened?
Well, he got thrown in for 2 plays only. 2 plays. And they were the 2 key plays of the game as the turning point.
Miles Sanders goes down. Boston Scott, you're up. Now, not only do you stay with your special team stuff, but you still got to bring it home to it and running the football and catching the football out of the backfield.
All right, so they did. They had the easiest closing schedule in the league. Nobody was easier than
But I
this.
say this, Skip. It's so hard to win in the National Football League, and I don't care who you play.
And I give you that. But the turning point of the year, sometimes it's just meant to be. I told you this when it happened. What killed me the most was that night game up at Lambeau, Eagles at Packers. Remember this?
Yeah.
And the great Aaron Rodgers, the transcendent throw of the football, on the last play of the game, he misses his little undrafted rookie, Darius Shepard. He goes into the flat, and he's wide open, like just to underhand him the ball, and he missed the read because the Eagles completely blew the coverage.
Skip.
And Aaron Rodgers threw an interception to Valdez-Scantling. He forced it in, and it changed, because if you cash there, the Eagles, we're not having this conversation.
Okay, what about if the Cowboys cash against the Jets?
Okay.
What about Chicago?
Well, they weren't going to cash that.
What about the Eagles?
I mean, so hold on. Y'all opened the season with the easiest starting schedule. We closed. So it was easy for both of us, just at different times.
Disappointed in the Cowboys.
I'm not.
So
Okay,
disappointed.
but it's who you play. No, it's not who you play, but when you play them. Because we got Miami when they were terrible. Remember what Lamar did to Miami on opening day?
Yeah.
That was horrendous.
Right. And we got it with Fitzmagic.
Okay. All right.
So imagine we'd have got it with Rosen.
Yeah, you could have. Okay, there's a lot. You got Luke Falk in a game at the Eagles. Luke Falk.
Sam Darnold had mono for a week, for a month.
For a month.
They said he weighed 117 pounds.
They did not.
That
That is not a real story.
They did not.
Mine
can't even
is
imagine that.
horrible,
Yeah.
but he was.
Then they gave him Pedialyte the whole week to get him up to strength.
And then
Hydrated him.
What happened the week before Dallas is going to play the game of the year at the Eagles? My quarterback can't practice, needs a cortisone shot in his right shoulder. Okay?
Dak's credit, I still think Dak was hurt
Thank you.
in that game versus.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But
Thank you.
he shouldn't have been out in the
Was
field.
he hurt yesterday?
What does
No,
it
he had to
matter
suck it
yesterday?
up. Yesterday was suck it up.
It was over.
He sucked it up.
Another-
You see that? He sucked it up against Washington. I told you, Dak he's the perfect quarterback for the Cowboys. Front run. When things going good, look how they jumped on the Eagles when the Eagles came there. Jumped on them. Look how they jumped on the Rams. Jumped on them. Look at Washington. But boy, when they need that thing, what about New Orleans? What about Eagles the second time?
What about his first
What about
3
New
years in
England?
the NFL?
I don't know about that.
First 3 years, he led the whole
My mind.
NFL in game-winning
I got amnesia.
drives. Game-winning drives.
You know,
Who's this guy?
something about my memory, I can only remember a year at a time. So I only go back to 2019. What did he do this year?
So it was meant to be for your Eagles that you
Your
adopted.
Eagles.
We made it.
Yeah, you made it, and you won by default.
No, we didn't.
Default.
No, we won because it's your fault that you picked the wrong team 50 years ago.
50 years
You want to
ago.
get on a different team? I'll let you get on a different team
No,
right now. I'll let you
it's
have a
not
different
available.
Well,
This is-
I'm monitor the Cowboys situation closely over the next week to see who they bring in as a
Yeah.
coach, if it's a coaching change.
Jason
Because
Garrett.
it's so
It's
imperative
gotta be
right now.
something.
They're bringing in Jason Garrett. Bringing Jason Garrett back.
Yeah.
Red deserves another opportunity.
Red. I'm going to see red.
Stop.
If red
We don't
comes
need
back.
that. Oh, by the way, Carson Wentz's birthday today. Good
What?
guy.
Hold on,
what a
hold on.
birthday gift.
You
My
guess who,
God.
hold on. Guess who else's birthday it is?
Oh, I know. LeBron.
Happy birthday, LeBron.
And you know who else? Tiger Woods.
Tiger
What-
Woods?
What a
And
day.
it's my and Tonka Man Sharp birthday, my dog.
Oh, really?
So,
This is
so
about
I,
the
I
best
One
should
thing
down.
ever.
expect Carson Wentz to do the things LeBron and Tiger have
Yes.
done.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
At some
Oh,
point.
that's some
Good company.
expectation.
I don't know if he's gonna be athlete of the decade, but he's gonna be in consideration moving forward.
I feel
The
like we'll get
2020 is
there.
gonna be walking to him time.
Be a
He
big
has
one.
spoken.